It's live. Yeah.
Everybody please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Maybe would you call roll, please?
Mr. Burns, Miss Angeline, Miss Meyer,
Here.
Miss Meister,
Here.
Mr. Babel,
Here.
Miss Bolton.
Here.
We have 5 present, so we have a quorum. The next thing I'd like to do is ask for a motion to excuse Mr. Burns' absence tonight.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ms. Meister.
I'll
Do I have a
second.
second?
I'll
Second
second.
by Mr. Bolton. Any questions? Can we call the roll, please?
Miss Angeline,
Here.
Miss Meyer,
Here.
Miss Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Miss Bolton.
Okay.
Motion passes 5-0. At this point, I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes from the April 9th, 2025 council meeting. So moved. The motion is made by Mr. Babel. Do I have a second?
Got it.
Second by, what is your name? Mr. Oh, I know that one. Carrie, call the roll, please.
Miss Angeline,
I know what.
Miss Meyer,
Yes.
Miss Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Miss Bolton.
Yay.
Motion passes 5-0. I'd also like to have a motion to approve the April 6th, 2025 special council meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Second by Mrs. Meyer. Do I have a- Who says who did the second? Oh, I'm sorry. Stand here. Miss Angeline, are there any questions? No questions? Call the roll, please.
Miss Angeline, Miss Meyer,
Yes.
Miss Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Miss Bolton.
Yay.
Now seriously, getting into the next one, motion passes 5-0. Ms. Ozer cannot make tonight, so she will not be here to answer any questions that you might have. But if you do have some questions on the pay ordinance 05-2025, I'd like to get them on the record.
Cindy does a good job with her notes. Putting notes by the things so that we know what they're for.
No questions? Do I have a motion to approve pay ordinance 05-2025?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ms. Meister, second by
I'll second.
Ms. Meyer. Any further discussion? Kenny, call the roll, please.
Miss Angeline, Miss Meyer,
Yes.
Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Miss Bolton.
Yay.
Motion passes 5-0. I just want to make you aware that we do have a guest speaker. He is here. Okay, very good. Jason, would you like to come forward to the podium, please? And first of all, welcome to our council meeting. And it's been a while since I've talked to you.
Yes, sir. Yes,
But I
sir.
know you have a lot of interest in going to Cleves and seeing it prosper. So if you would maybe tell us a little bit why you're here tonight, a little bit about you, and maybe some of your ideas.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the introduction. Thank you. My name is Jason Lane. I'm actually a West Side native. I grew up, went to Oak Hills High School. Big proponent of what we're doing in Cleves here. And just fantastic opportunity to build a lot of the industry and retail in this space, as well as expand new residential. I'm a home builder. My company's Iconic Homes. We're predominantly in Oakley at this point, mostly rehabs and new builds. Self-procured property is a lot of what I work in, so I don't build to suit. I build, and if you like the home, you buy it. I also own a martial arts fitness studio on the east side of town. Built that also. The concept that I built in there is like a small incubation chamber for a lot of small businesses to operate until they get on their own feet, start moving. What I'd like to bring to Cleves is I'd like to purchase some properties I've been working on Mr. Tisch with. Take those properties, rehab those, and turn them into commercial spaces where we can do the same thing, or we have, or incubate small businesses, bring some retail jobs, some large restaurants in, kind of liven up the downtown.
Yeah.
And as well as work on some residential build outs as well. So I acquired some property up on Brunsman, which is adjacent to my township. It's not necessarily Cleves. We're working on building 6 homes up there. That was a failed Marada project. I'm sure everyone knows about that. So it has a lot of potential though to build new residential life. So we're actually taking an opportunity to build that out. Working on a larger project in North Bend also. I've already met with North Bend's council. We're trying to develop West Harrison, like Harrison Avenue there, for South Miami and Harrison intersect. We're looking to develop that as well in line with this. So the idea is to bring new residential, commercial, kind of support one another and the growth of the Cleves area. We're actually working on a rehab right now as well, something that's kind of where I started, which is on rehabilitation for homes. We're going to do some homes that need a lot of love here, that was petition some other people have owned, turn those around and try to beautify the area, make it more consistent with what you got to do.
Well, if you don't mind, let any council would like to ask some questions, or you
Yeah, absolutely.
questions? Did council member have any questions of Jason?
How many properties are we talking about right now?
Right now, just in Cleves, there's building 6 new homes, and then there will be 6 commercial acquisitions, which I'm working on that property acquisition right now.
We're talking actual Cleves or Cleves mailing?
No, not Cleves, these are actual Cleves addresses. Now, there's 8 other bills that I'd be doing, but that would be North Bend, so that would be Cleves adjacent.
Where are those at?
The Harrison and South Miami intersection right there. So that would be pending another acquisition from one other resident. I did negotiations with her, but no matter what, we would get a few houses on that.
That's for the commercial spots?
That would be residential. The only
Okay.
commercial would be on South Miami.
And where on South?
So 101, 105, 102 Kramer, and then College Street behind there.
Okay.
So we'd be working all of that. That's all zone commercial. It'd be one acquisition that I'm working on with Mr. Tisch right now. And that's the area we'd really like to revitalize. And Justin, Ed, myself, and Mr. Turkles have sat down and had a conversation about what would fit that street and what we could bring in to help the residents. And we've come up with some concepts that we'll share when we get the portfolio established.
Is that down by where the old Skyline used to be? Is that?
It's close, yeah. So
Okay.
the 105 would be adjacent to the, not adjacent, but right there next to the bistro.
Oh, okay.
So there's one building between there, then you got that old rickety wood panel
Nice
building. That would be gone. And then we'd be working on that little pocket of land there, 101 South Miami is the residential home. It's the old logo work facility. And then the house behind there, we would take all that down and redevelop that as well.
The new buildings for commercial use,
That would be
like right next to
correct.
where the library.
Correct. And we tell you to run adjacent to that.
When do you see this happening?
I mean, the acquisition happened in the next 30 days, getting that property. And then based on, we've already started working with the architects. I work with Open Architecture. That's who does all my work for all my residential and commercial. So we're actually getting some optics together so we can share with you guys and kind of see what the dream looks like, and how this would play out. But a lot of community space. We're really big on community and make sure that it would, entertain kids and adults alike. And really bring in, have a place for the community to meet instead of going up Shady Lane or out the Richtown Road.
A question on the residential properties that you're acquiring, are you rehabbing them and selling them?
Yes, so we don't do
Maybe
any,
this is a renting.
no ma'am, so we don't do any rentals, like we buy and sell, and honestly, we do not sell to any corporate housing, we don't sell to anybody that's not local. So even if we were to, we never sold to a landlord, but even if we did, it would have to be a local address. We just don't do that. So we flip them, I don't know, using the term flip, because ultimately it's really just rehabbing it and trying to make it a better. So we're in a position that we're able to do that, especially now being on the west side. This is my home, and that's really important.
Are there any new homes going in, like I've been calling one?
Well, the ones we're building on Bronson will all be 6 new homes.
Is that in Cleves or is that in?
That's Cleves adjacent. We've talked about annexation. We're looking into that to see if we can make that work. But the other residential possibility would be on College Street. So we would do residential behind, we would rezone that, make that residential, and it would run into the commercial elements we're trying to build something.
Any other
This
questions?
is a little off base, but is Judy your?
She is, yeah. My favorite, is this recorded?
She's my favorite.
So you're gonna be looking for some zone variances from
Uh,
change in zoning?
Possibly. I mean, a lot of what we're gonna be doing, we've already kind of looked at this. It wouldn't change too much. Some of the opportunities that we're talking about going are already zoned that way. Probably have to adjust them a little bit, but we talked about the potential of the DORA. Getting small businesses in here, we've already had conversations with a lot of local entities. That's really what we want to do. We want to bring franchises in, we bring local entities come in and work to develop maybe another location for them, or the first location. We talked a lot of people that have food trucks, and maybe they want to brick and mortar. So there's already been a lot of legwork trying to gain interest. One of the things that would help a lot is we get some subsidies, things like that. That'll bring them in. The idea of a DORA for any of these entities, they're going to love that. So, it's something we really want to consider if that was up to the community to approve. But I know that would go a long way of bringing some of these proprietors in.
Maybe some questions out here in the
Yeah.
audience. Are there any questions first from the council? Audience, would you like to ask questions?
The commercial property should be growing down here. Are you gonna retain ownership of that? When you sell it off, you'll retain, and these companies will be in on the property. You then sell those properties to the company, go on, to retain ownership.
That's correct. So the way that I could go on a little, okay, go into a little detail how that works.
Sure, and before you go in, I'll expand on any of the annexation conversations, vision, and also with the potential rezoning efforts, kind of prime time with us working with Adams County on our rezoning efforts. They have these conversations with Jason and other prospective developers now, and I'll elaborate on that in my administrative report.
So a lot of what I own now, I built a brick and mortar facility, and I have 5 entities that run underneath that. So I have like partial ownership in every entity that runs underneath of it, just so that it all runs in correlation with the goal, right? So in a lot of these businesses, this was their first time ever doing this. So I own the property, and then I own parts of the businesses, and as they grow, they essentially buy me out of it, and they continue to run their business and just become a landlord. So the idea of retaining the property to make sure that only things that we want to be in there continue to be in there. There we go. So that's a big part of who we want to retain the properties. And again, I do not build on anything that I do not own. It's very important to me not to do that because I want to dictate how that works, which isn't everybody's favorite thing, but it's really important to me that it goes the way I want.
I got a question. Are you friends with John Tish?
John has become a good friend of mine. Yeah, I've honestly, John, I know recently we talked about that little acre, that little zone that we wanted to buy for the historical monument, and John, like me, to tell everybody that I had to wrestle him down for it. He did it. I asked him to do it. He did it. He shares the vision that I have with this, and that's ultimately why he's selling these properties and what he's able to sell these to and what he's actually selling them for. There's a disparity there. So I know, whether he wants to admit it or not, I know that he wants to see this vision come to fruition. So, because he does want to get out of this, so I am buying.
Yeah, I just asked because at 9 o'clock this morning, I had a conversation with some people about John Tish, and I was telling them that I think he's wanting to move on.
He does. I think he's looking towards retirement, but he's kind of trusted me with some of this. So, he has a lot of new land and a lot of these properties, some of the properties, I just kind of taken the liberty of doing now as a partnership with him to make sure that it gets done properly. So again, there's not going to be a lot of income revenue coming from these. It's just something that I want to get done.
Is there a plan for parking? I just, as more goes down there and the library goes down there, street parking, I don't feel like it's gonna be ample for a lot. Is there?
Yes, we talked about the opportunities for that. There is a parking lot adjacent to that area, and then we would have our own self-free parking as well. Some of the designs that we've come up with already, just based on the land mass that we have available, it would accommodate parking and would actually section off 50 so that it would kind of create safe space for kids. So it wouldn't be like anybody could just get out off the 50 there and keep the noise down as well. So everything that we're considering again is going to be definitely developed.
And to piggyback on that, the library will have across the street a parking lot for their patrons. All of this is kind of like an ongoing concerted effort to our revitalization grant that we're going to submit for in 2026. And at this point, the vision for that project is underground utilities, streetscaping, and allowing better on-street parking.
Any other questions from the audience? Council? Jason, I want to thank you for coming in here tonight. We appreciate you supporting the village of Cleves. And exciting times coming ahead.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you guys welcoming us with open arms. It was really important though, so really good. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here, guys.
Okay, we're going to move on to the public comments and feedback. If you do want to speak tonight, I'm going to ask you to register with our village clerk before going to the podium. And the village of Cleves values community input, encourages participation. While we welcome passionate viewpoints, we ask all comments remain respectful and free of disruptive behavior. Our goal is to maintain a constructive and professional environment. And we thank everybody for their cooperation. If you come up to speak, you'll have about, you still got the timer back there, you'll have 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes to talk. Anybody in the audience want to speak? Okay, thank you. So I guess we're in the old business, Justin. I'm not sure what, is there anything there or not?
I don't have any old business. I'll go to ongoing updates.
Okay. Well, then I think we should move on to our new business then. And before we start that new business, I want to just make a comment to the public at home. We know since 2020, we've had a very difficult time in Cleves enforcing our ordinances. Justin has worked real hard with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department. And what I'd like to do is make sure we understand it is going to be a partnership. It's not going to be just something that Cleves is doing this and the Hamilton County Sheriff's doing something else. So Cleves is going to be dealing with our ordinances. However, with that said, the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department is who people will call first. And then between the Sheriff's Department, if it's something that needs to be investigated, like gunshots, etc., we're going to go ahead and make sure that that is dealt with through our police. You know, Justin, there is one thing on here though, before we go into this, I think we should deal with, because I don't see John Kneff's on this.
I don't believe we have John, and we've been giving him the night off.
Well, I've asked him to come tonight, so I think before we get into that, I think John, we need to have you tell us a little bit about the park, and what your agency was doing during the park, and then I've got some comments I want to share to the public. And so we are going to do his report first. And John, if I told you today, you go ahead and tell everything, because I think our community needs to know exactly why it took as long as it did and how hard your service did to conclude.
This is a picture of the park on April 7th, Monday. I had the Hamilton County drone team. They asked them to come in and do a flyover of the park. And they shot some good video. And I was able to take from that video a snapshot. This is just one area where it looked like on April 17th, we started cleaning the park. The water was pretty much close to what it's full height on that picture. We worked after the water receded, but April 17th, we went in and started cleaning. We started scraping the silt off the road. We had several inches of silt. That cannot be left on there. That is very slick. When it dries out, it's a powder. When it rains, it's rehydrated, and you got another slick surface. So we have to clean that off. So we rented a water truck, a 4,000 gallon water truck. We scraped all the surface off with a Bobcat and then came in with a water truck and we hosed everything down. It has two nozzles on the front, high pressure nozzles that, push the rest of the silt off and into the grassy surface on the side. After we cleaned the road, we went in and, disinfected and washed the playground and the, turf surface. Used a bleach surface, cleaner, with, water and, to disinfect it and, sanitize it. After we did that, we went and sanitized the, picnic areas, all the picnic tables, the picnic, floor, and all the shelters and pavilions also. After that, we cleaned up the, basketball court, the pickleball court. And then, once we finished that, we cleaned up all the debris that was piled up around the fence lines. We had, I think there's 15 truckloads of debris we picked up. And then, after we got all that, we put up a new net at the pickleball, and then, we ended up opening the park up a week earlier. I predicted it'd take us a month to clean the park up. We actually did it in a little over 3 weeks.
Good job.
Yes, okay.
Well, just so the audience knows, we did have a community volunteer day to come out. We did have people show up, not probably as much as we would have liked to have had. But I want to recognize the fact that John was there on his own time. So was Norm Rutherford. He was on his own time. Kevin Richardson was also there. Dawn was there, okay, and taking dibs on the fence line, not realizing that there was a lot of stuff to come off that fence line. But there were corn stalks, there were all kinds of debris, wood debris, large wood debris that had to be cut with chainsaws and removed. So those are some of them. We also had out there Kevin Burns, okay, who's not here tonight. He and his daughter were there. Kevin worked extremely hard and probably was not feeling very well. Dale Oppenheimer also came. We also had a lady, I don't know her name, but she walks her dog in the park. She came out. She was helping clean debris. Greg Peters, who lives up on Cleves Avenue, who has bad knees, he showed up to help. So we did have a lot of help on this. As far as the baseball fields are concerned, I know there's been concern how much time was spent on the baseball fields. PRCAA actually killed those fields over. And once the debris and everything was out, pretty much everything was done by Daniel, our parks manager, and Justin Beatty, our village administrator. So just to get the park open in 3 weeks, there was a lot of stuff that went on. And I know that probably many of our residents are saying, well, is that all they do is the parks? The answer is no. There's much more to it than that. John, why don't you tell what your guys are doing today?
We are out cleaning catch basins, cleaning debris off the catch basins. Sadly, the most of it is grass that people blow in the street, which is against the federal law for the Clean Water Act. But we're cleaning grass off the catch basin today after the heavy rains. We patched potholes. We patched this alley back here or over here. We patched streets. We put up no parking signs. During the winter, we plow and salt streets. Take care of the sidewalks, make sure they're cleaned up at the administration building and the municipal building. We cut grass on 50, cut grass in a lot of different areas around the village that the village is owned or has taken over. And we cut grass in the park. It takes 2 days to cut the grass in the park. That's just a small sampling of what we do. If I hadn't had Norman Rutherford and Kevin Richardson with me, they're the ones that make me look good because they're very professional at what they do and they're very hard work.
very hard workers. And you have a new part-time helper now
Yes.
who's helping also. What is his name?
His name is Steve Miller.
And maybe after you interview.
John interviewed him.
So we don't have a lot of people working in the village, but they are working and working hard to keep the village looking clean. So all I can say to you, John, is, you know, as I said earlier today, we do appreciate what you guys do. And we know that you're sort of oftentimes the unsung hero of making sure that our residents have the services they need. So thank you very much.
Is what I'd like to bring up too is May 18th, Sunday through Saturday, 24th is National Public Works Week. This was adopted in 1960. President Kennedy took and fully brought it into fruition. And then this is to bring into attention all the people that work in the public works field. They work on the roads. There's 1.3 people that are killed every day working on the roads in the maintenance departments around the United States. So, you know, we just want to bring attention to these people, to the people that do this work. So that's why this National Public Works Week was enacted.
Are we gonna do anything special for our employees?
Pardon me?
Are we gonna do anything special?
Well,
for our
I've
public
got a
works?
suggestion, but I don't know. I think that's pretty much up to council. If they want to hear my suggestion, I'll be glad to do that.
Well-
Chair,
I'm sorry?
you have the chair.
Well, honestly, when somebody's coming in and working the hours they work, okay, for our community, I know this year we took away June 19th as a holiday for our employees. I realize we may not be able to do that every year, but I think a way of saying thank you, you need to tell them on June 19th, stay home. That's gonna be a council decision.
Do they, I don't have any problem with that, but at one time, we actually gave the day after Thanksgiving off one year when we could not afford raises. Our levy had failed, we couldn't afford raises. And we gave the workers the day after Thanksgiving off. Do you remember that, Jerry?
Yeah, and I was opposed to continuing that, but that is one of their days off, correct? They have to,
Yes,
they
that's
still
the
get
day.
that.
So they still get that?
Annual.
Yeah.
Okay. That is a Thursday.
What, June 19th?
Yeah, would it make more sense for us to let them off on a Friday?
That's, in my view, a council decision.
Well, if we combine it with the weekend and they wouldn't get a Thursday off and then have to come back the next day, I would support giving them June 20th. Is that a Friday?
I don't know what day of the week that is.
It's fine, it's a little Friday, yeah.
Well, you have my support.
Well, I need a motion then.
Okay, I will make a motion that our public works employees, does that include waterworks?
Waterworks here.
Will we have a special issue, Justin, though, because of possible water emergencies if they're all off?
We have an on-call list, so we would just.
Okay. I make the motion that our public works employees take June 20th as a paid day off of work in recognition of the National Public Works Week.
I'll second that.
The motion was made by Mr. Bolton, Ms. Meyer, second. Is there any further discussion among council? Comments from the public? Can you call the roll, please?
Miss Angeline, Ms. Meyer,
Yes.
Ms. Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yeah.
Ms. Bolton.
Yay.
Motion passes 5-0.
But I do have one more question for John. In the park minutes, it said something about the possibility of us looking into a FEMA disaster money to help reimburse some of the funds for that cleanup.
There was no.
There was nothing available. Okay. I just saw it in the minutes and I was curious.
Nothing available on FEMA right now.
Any other comments from the council members? John, I know you don't want to go home early, but get out of here.
John, thank you. Thank you, John. Appreciate what you've done. Thank you.
Okay, now
I'll
we'll
call
move on to the new business. And the first ordinance, I'm gonna turn that over to you, Mr. Havig, to sort of give an introduction to this. And, I know this has been the safety committee, so you have to.
This will be ordinance, 15-2025, an ordinance to hire Christopher Massminster as a part-time police investigator, declaring it an emergency. This is an ongoing effort towards our re-implementation of our local law enforcement authority. Chris comes to us with over 30 years of law enforcement experience, 20 of that being the Cleves Police Department. He's recently employed, currently employed full-time at Cincinnati State as a public safety police officer. He's a wealth of experience. He knows the area. We couldn't have a better candidate. He's completed all of his prerequisite background checks, and he's eligible for hire. We're eager and happy to have him.
Do you want to explain exactly how this position is different than what the public may perceive as a law enforcement officer? He's not going to be pulling over speeders or anything like that, correct?
While he maintains all of the police powers of any police officer in the state of Ohio, his scope will be narrow and focused to enforce quality of life issues and ordinance violations, quality of life issues in the Village of Cleves, as we discussed. So,
I just want to make sure the public understands that.
he won't be in a patrol function. As Mayor Burkhold stated, the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office will retain all patrol functions for the Village of Cleves. These investigators, Officer Massminster will focus on an after the fact investigation style approach, whether that be zoning or a nuisance issue, or other quality life issues that come up in the Sheriff's Office as an authority to.
And those cases will come to our reinstated mayor's court at some point, right?
Yes, I mean.
And just so we're clear, this, you still see it on next door. Today there was a situation up on Shady Lane where there were somewhere around 8 gunshots that were off. Those types of things will be investigated within the Village of Cleves. If those reports go to the Sheriff's Department, there will be cooperation between the Sheriff's Department and our village administrator and town marshal, okay, Justin Havey. So that's the type of quality of life that we're talking about. The safety committee, I know, remember last year we had an issue where people were shooting into a yard over on Main Street, okay, and that resident was concerned about that. That's the type of quality of life that we know will be issues that will be investigated. If there's some type of assault going on or something like that, just that, how that more likely to go to the Sheriff's Department. I correct on that?
The Sheriff's Office will retain that just out. Their narrow focus is really on our local ordinances. The Sheriff's Office has indicated they're unable to enforce. So that's anything that's not outlined explicitly in the Ohio Precedent.
Any other questions that people may have? I only have one thing I want to add on this. You'll notice that this is being declared as an emergency, which means we're going to be asking you to suspend the rules. This is a safety issue for residents in the Village of Cleves, and when it is passed as an emergency, it takes place immediately, right? Correct? Correct. So, any questions from council on this, or Jerry, you're the chair of public safety. I mean, I don't know if you want to make any comments or not.
I don't have any.
I'm sorry?
I do not have any further
Okay.
input.
Do we have an idea of a range of how many hours this position will have?
As we discussed before, it'll be anywhere from 8 to 16 hours weekly, I imagine.
Are we gonna budget for 16 and then we'll all be smiling at the end of the year if we didn't use them? What are we gonna budget for? As chairman of finance, I'm curious.
I don't have those figures in front of me, but we did
Okay.
budget appropriate, we separated the salaries and softwares, so, whatever that appropriated amount.
I'd rather budget for a couple extra hours and then be happy when we don't need them.
We'll monitor it closely and make sure that we stay within our.
I trust you.
So you mentioned, sorry,
So great.
you work full-time for Cincinnati State, so would this be primarily duties would be done in the evening or like,
We have a 12 on, 12 off schedule,
okay,
so it's pretty little off time.
okay.
So I come, I can add on the day. if needed.
Any other questions from council members? If there are no questions, here I have a motion to pass with, suspending the rules, I'm sorry, for ordinance 15-2025, appointing Chris Bassminster to the position of police officer and declaring an emergency. That would be the first motion. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bolton,
Second.
second by Mr. Babel.
Can you repeat that?
I'm sorry.
Can you repeat that ordinance? number?
Yes, it is, the ordinance is ordinance 15-2025. Appointing Chris Bassminster to the position of police officer and declaring it an emergency, and we're going to be suspending the rules. The first one is to suspend the rules. The second one will be to actually enact or pass the ordinance. So we already have the two motions. Are there any further discussions? Penny, call the roll, please.
Miss Angeline,
Yes.
Ms. Meyer,
Yes,
Ms. Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Ms. Bolton.
Yay.
Motion passes 5-0. Now, once again, we need to have a motion to actually pass ordinance 15-2025, appointing Christopher Bassminster to the position of police officer and declaring it an emergency. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion to adopt ordinance 15-2025 and declaring an emergency.
I'll second.
Okay, motion was made by Ms. Meister, second by Ms. Angeline. Any further discussion? Penny, call the roll.
Miss Angeline,
Yes.
Ms. Meyer,
yes,
Ms. Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Ms. Bolton.
Yay.
Chris, would you step forward? We're gonna swear you in. So just repeat after me, raise your right hand, please. I, Christopher Bassminster. I, Christopher Bassminster. Do solemnly swear. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States. So I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States. The Constitution and laws of the state of Ohio. Constitution and laws of the state of Ohio. And the laws and ordinances of the village of Cleves. The laws and ordinances of the village of Cleves. And the rules and regulations of the police department. And the rules and regulations of the police department. And I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of police officer, which I have been appointed, according to law, and to the best of my ability, Congratulations. Dan, would you get a picture of this, please? I want to get a picture.
Chris, I feel better that I'm not the only dummy that came back. Hey, I'm just happy that you all did. It's your last company, right?
Congratulations. Thank you. I'm back.
Yay.
Hey, Chris, can I have you sign your copy? Sign the copy.
All right.
I am a reader, though.
Our next new
Thank you.
business is resolution. Resolution 9/2025. I'm gonna ask Mr. Babel, this is something that's dear to his heart, worked hard along with Mr. Hagan in this place. Did you give our residents a little idea about how this came about?
This isn't the,
Is that wrong? This isn't it.
This is not it.
No, this is separate. That's okay, so that'll be rolled out.
It's all part of it.
It is part of it. So this is actually a resolution draft was provided us from Hamilton County. As a specific initiative or requirement in the state of Ohio, Hamilton County Comm Center, or PSAP, basically the institution that handles your 911. The requirement from Ohio legislation is that they outline a final 911 where your 911 calls go and dial 911, specific phone number, and which entity will respond. It outlines the police department that will respond to your emergency calls, fire department, and an EMS organization.
So are we ready to go with that then? Sure. So what we're gonna ask you once again is to suspend the rules. This is not an emergency. But it is something we've been asked to do, so I'm asking for a motion to suspend the rules for resolution 9, adopting the Hampton County final 911 plan.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Babel. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Bolton. Any further discussion? No discussion, please call the roll.
Miss Angeline,
Yes.
Miss Meyer,
Yes.
Ms. Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Ms. Bolton.
Yay.
Motion passes 5-0. Now I ask for a motion to pass resolution 9-5, adopting the Hamilton County final 911 plan.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Babel, second by Ms. Angeline. Any questions? Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Miss Angeline,
Yes.
Ms. Meyer,
Yes.
Ms. Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Ms. Bolton.
Yay.
Okay, our next ordinance, I think is extremely important, especially in light of our industrial here today. Justin, I want you to give a little overview, if you would, about the revitalization district and what those ordinances are.
Sure. The next ordinance for consideration is an ordinance establishing a revitalization district in the village of Cleves. If you look at the ordinance in front of you, it'll outline a specific area and intent of that ordinance. You were provided in your packet Annex A, which is an illustration of the area that is declared a revitalization district. Ultimately, the establishment of a revitalization district is just a strategic step forward in our planning of the future business corridor, as Mr. Lane outlined. It doesn't impose new regulations, but it memorializes our intent to encourage economic growth and support developers' investment. A key benefit of this is additional opportunities for liquor permitting, specifically under a DJ5 exemption. Municipalities have a per capita limit on liquor establishments, and when you declare a revitalization district, it eases that burden and allows for additional. Is this going to be our district? No. It allows for family-friendly establishments like breweries and bistros, eateries, beer gardens, things of that nature, things that are going to incentivize businesses to come here and help them increase their profits and enhance dining and shopping experiences in the village. All of this, as I said, don't blow in the face, is really just a continued effort towards future grant funding and a partner grant with CDBG and Hampton County Economic Development. With that, I can speak for hours. Does anybody have questions on this before I know we've discussed it in multiple committee meetings? I'll open the floor to any residents or council that has questions before we move forward.
Is there any impact on current businesses already down there? Like, will it change anything or?
So any business that lies within the revitalization district that doesn't have a liquor permit that may want to would have the ability to petition for one. So that's a direct impact. Also, when you go to the trainings and look at what they're asking for when they provide awards and funding for these economic impact grants, they're looking for a sustained and committed effort towards your community. This revitalization district really memorializes our intent to have a founders district, a business district in Cleves. How it will support existing businesses in the long run, if we're awarded that grant. I mean, one, increased businesses will attract more foot traffic and people down there. So if you have a boutique or something like that, you're down there, and you're down there eating, maybe you'll stop in and,
Let's say, for example.
for
We could
example.
start doing wine tastings.
I was thought about that actually, because we used to do them at Major Smoke and I wanted to.
But also, you keep the momentum moving forward and you outline that in your grant application. I don't know that any community could position themselves stronger than we can with the efforts we've made. So if we do obtain that grant award, we could change the entire corridor. If you've been to Lawrenceburg or Harrison, where you see underground utilities and aesthetically pleasing lighting, some hardscapes, decorations, on-street parking, things of that nature.
Any other questions from council members? Of the audience?
One, I'm looking at the ordinance here, just for clarification, under section 1, do a $sign instead of, I don't know if that's just a typo.
Yeah, I think that was the wrong symbol placed there. It's good catch, Babel. I will make that. Actually, I think what it is it's correct in Word and it changed it when we uploaded it.
So just for clarification.
Yep, absolutely. I'll make sure that's corrected for the next year.
Any other questions?
If I could shine light on some things, so some of the prevailing concepts that are actually being built in are entertainment spaces. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with duck-in bowling, but that's actually been a concept that we're actively building out for that 101 and 102 Kramer, 101 South Miami, 102 Kramer. And that would, again, it would house, food and alcohol as well. So the alcohol obviously is just helping keep people downtown. So it's not, I don't, again, however you want to view that, I want everybody to understand that this is really supposed to be a community-based area that we're trying to build out and really be down for it. And stay true to that.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, once again, this is going to be, I'm asking for a motion to suspend the rules. This is ordinance number 16. 16-2025, establishing a revitalization district and reading it by title only. Do I have a motion?
So, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jerry.
I'll make that motion to introduce the read by title only ordinance 16/2025, establishing a revitalization district.
Suspending the rules. So, do I have a second? Second by Mrs. Bolton. Any further discussion? And call the roll.
Ms. Angeline,
Yes.
Ms. Meyer,
Yes.
Ms. Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Ms. Bolton.
Yay.
Motion passes 5-0. Now I need a motion to pass ordinance number 16-2025, establishing a revitalization district.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Babel. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Meister. Any further questions? Any please call the roll.
Ms. Angeline,
Yes.
Ms. Meyer,
Yes.
Ms. Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Ms. Bolton.
Yay.
Motion passes 5-0. Finally, our last ordinance tonight is one that's been very important to our village. As the council knows, I'm sure some of our residents realize, our ordinances have not been codified in over 20 years. The codification process is designed to make sure any old ordinances that may not be legal, there could have been court decisions that have been made that causes ordinances no longer to be enforceable. So we paid over a period of 2 years, almost $20,000 to have that done. The final product is in the hands of our attorney and our village administrator. And there was a report also. And so I asked Mr. Burkle, who could not be here tonight, to come up with an ordinance. Justin, I'm going to sort of turn that over to you to talk about that ordinance. and we'll go from there.
Sure. So the title of the ordinance is an ordinance adopting the AM legal draft in conjunction with the AM legal Ohio Basic Code published 2025. In essence, American Legal Publishing has an overlay of ordinances, basic ordinances that you can adopt. Our efforts over the past year have been to codify additional ordinances that the council may have passed, which include solicitors and vendors regulation ordinances, overtime parking, discharging of firearms in city limits, tall grass, nuisance properties, things of that nature. This ordinance will serve us in the interim until we finish the total codification and review of our manual. So it's a hybrid approach to utilizing Basic Code's general handbook plus our draft ordinance, as long as they don't conflict. At the time we're finished with our review, which should come sometime July or August of this year, we will introduce another ordinance to adopt our final version.
And just so you know, this one is an emergency. Okay. So in this particular round, okay, because we're going to start dealing with things here in the village, we want to make sure that we adopted it, and it is a safety issue for our residents. Once again, with an emergency, we can suspend the rules, and it goes into effect immediately. So I would need a motion to read by title only and suspend the rules. Ordinance number 17, adopting the AM legal draft in conjunction with the 2025 edition of the Basic Code. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Rabel. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Meyer. Any further discussion? Betty, please call the roll.
Miss Angeline?
Yes.
Oh, just, just.
Oh, yes.
This is basically so we can get moving to clean up the village of Cleves and get clears work going when it's ready to go. So everybody better be aware once all this is done, it's all gonna start rolling.
It's going to start rolling. Remember. Any other comments or questions? Any call the roll, please.
Miss Angeline?
Yes.
Miss Meyer?
Yes.
Ms. Meister?
Yes.
Mr. Babel?
Definitely, yay.
Ms. Bull?
Yay.
Motion passes 5-0. All right, now I need a motion to pass ordinance 17 2025, adopting the AM legal draft in conjunction with the 2025 edition. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Motion by Ms. Angeline. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Babel. Any further discussion? Any call the roll, please.
Miss Angeline?
Yes.
Ms. Meyer?
Yes.
Ms. Meister?
Yes.
Mr. Babel?
Yay.
Ms. Bull?
Yay.
Motion passes 5-0. Now we'll move on to the administrator's report, Mr. Avey. You did your administrator's report.
The good thing about doing it here is we cover I'd like to report that the waterworks, our water distribution plant, executed some electric maintenance. Early this month, we replaced all of our electrical components just to make sure that this thing is working order. It's part of our ongoing preventative maintenance that we've rolled out since I started. Service department started pothole repair. We have scheduled, John and I implemented to address a lot of our troubled areas by the end of May. So you should see ongoing repairs there. The internet at the municipal building has been an ongoing issue, specifically during our meeting hours. We had a best effort internet, and with everybody coming home and streaming, plus everybody coming here and using the Wi-Fi, we found that it was crashing during our meetings. So not only have we replaced all of our infrastructure, our routers, access points, but we also upgraded our internet, which, knock on wood, is still streaming tonight. So hopefully it fixed the problem. Another waterworks topic, I submitted a grant for the waterworks for $1 million project, which will If awarded through Ohio EPA, will bring our water main into Addiston, so we can begin providing bulk water to the village of Addiston. I attended the Xavier Leadership Course as part of my ongoing Center for Local Government Leadership Academy, and completed their effective decision-making course and their certificate. It's really great training. If it ever opens up and anyone's interested, I highly recommend it. As Mayor Burkle stated, ongoing work towards our local police authority and re-implementing that, getting it to implementation. Also pleased to announce that on May 29th, we will have our first BZA hearing, which has been much anticipated. We already have a full docket there. So we'll continue to address these issues, and you'll see abatements going on in the near future. We already have some scheduled. Hired Erin Lowry from the village of Addiston as our court clerk. She'll continue to help us move forward with our BZA hearing and also getting our mayor's court off the ground. She's a huge asset. She's scheduled for TAC training, which will help manage the criminal justice system, the local authority, and the court as we roll off the ground. I've been managing open enrollment for the village and all of our full-time employees. For the first time since we've been with Center for Local Government, we will host a lunch and learn with our insurance provider, where employees will have the ability to attend, ask questions face to face with the representatives, bring their spouses if they'd like. We're going to feed them lunch while they do it. I think it's important to explain our benefits package to our employees and make sure they're making informed decisions. That'll happen early next month. I also executed an electric aggregation contract, which I emailed council about when we spoke about last meeting. We agreed to a price of 0.966 cents per kilowatt hour. We were actually able to lock it in at 0.95, so we got it cheaper and took advantage of the market that day. As a comparison, Duke is projecting a minimum of 0.155, so pretty good savings that we were able to get through our aggregation contract. In the near future, I'll be working on gas. Electric was the first to expire, and next month we'll start on the gas aggregation. Continue to work with Miss Angeline and the mayor on our summer market. We will have 5 summer market dates starting in the end of June and going through August. There's been some concerns, just part of mitigating our liabilities and following best practices. We require vendors to have a certificate of insurance and list us as an additional insurer. It's been trying to get vendors, the little guys that sell crafts and jewelry, to be able to attend when they can't afford insurance. So we had a meeting today with our insurance rep, and we were able to come up with a solution where the village can purchase a special events coverage. It costs us under $1,000 for these 5 instances. And so it looks like that's going to be a go. I want to thank you, Ms. Angeline, for your work on this. I know it's been a roller coaster, and thanks for sticking with us, and thanks for our vendors that have stuck with us. Really, I think it's going to be great. And as part of that, we continue. Daniel Gilligan, our parks coordinator, rolled out concessions to parks last year, which really helped drive our revenue. But also tied into the summer market, where we purchased an ice machine. We've also purchased a snow cone maker, so both our summer market and our parks will offer snow cones this year. Not that I'm ready for it to be 100 degrees, but we will have that when it is. Ohio Basic Code Review, we just passed that ordinance, and I appreciate that. There's a lot that goes into that, from making sure that the ordinances are still legal, to coming up with an implementation execution plan for how we enforce and process those ordinances. For example, one of the most important ones is our vendor and solicitors ordinance. We have an ordinance on the books, but we don't have an application. We don't have a no-knock list. These are all things that procedurally we have to put in place. We're working towards that. I just also like to thank the service department volunteers for park cleanup. Finally, I'd like to thank Mr. Tisch for his generous donation of the property on Mount Nebo, right between US 50 and South Miami. we've been working to obtain a historical marker specifically for the American 250. And part of that was a requirement that it be placed on village property. And so while we've had our flags there and maintained it for years, it's always been in Mr. Tish's ownership. And rather than charging us for that, working with Mr. Lane and facilitating the conversation, Mr. Tish was generous enough to donate that to the village so we could have it. So thank you for that. That's all I have unless there's questions.
Can you repeat what you said about the EPA grant? Towards the water?
Water, the same thing.
Yeah, sure. So the EPA grant had closed, actually. So it was, the award period closed. There wasn't really any discussion on us providing bulk water sales to Addison. But there's some struggles with their system, specifically with Ineos closing. Their well fields are located there. There's a lot of contamination concerns, supply concerns, old infrastructure. And so they really had two options to either tie into Greater Cincinnati Water Works, or partner with the Village of Cleves. And
I thought we already had a connection there where we could supply them with water. Am I misunderstanding in that?
we were never able to tie into the Village of Addison. We executed a planning phase that, a drawing, back in 2014. Never went through. The cost at that time was around $350,000. Today, adding in fire protection is around $980,000. So they actually reopened, Ohio EPA reopened their submission period for us to submit it, and they helped us draft the application. So I think that we're positioned very well to obtain that grant. If that happens, we will then run our water main into Addison and place a pressure release valve so their system can sustain the pressures. We'll put a meter on there and we'll begin selling bulk water to Addison. So the Village of Addison and their residents and consumers will actually be using Cleves water. So it'll increase revenue for Cleves Waterworks, but it'll also make sure that Addison maintains safe drinking water.
Do we pick up the maintenance on that then? On Addison's water?
Not on their water line.
Just to our meter.
Our meter,
Yep.
yeah, not on their end.
Just to our meter.
We're not providing your water service, we're just selling bulk water.
That's
So
right.
on their end, they're selling bulk water. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the events insurance, will that go for Christmas go off, anything else, or is it just summer market?
So we haven't got to that point Christmas walk yet, but if we follow what we did last year, which I believe we will, we obtained a insurance rider for the entire special event Christmas walk.
Okay.
And then a separate rider for the inflatables,
Okay,
which we're ahead
yeah.
because of you, so we'll do that again. So yes, the Christmas walk will be separated, but same thing, we'll execute another ride.
Any other questions? Thank you. And on my report, I'll try to be very brief, but I do want to start off with a little bit about the Ohio 250. So just so our residents know, we meet twice a month, okay? And we have a meeting lasts about an hour in length each time. And Justin is talking about the donation from Mr. Tish, and it is very much appreciated. I completed a grant for a historical sign for the Village of Cleves. And one of the things we had to do was be able to get the location, and it had to be something that where people could at least park their cars, walk to it, and be able to read it. So there were restrictions. We have no idea as to whether or not we're going to get that grant. If we don't get the grant, what I understand, I think there's a Daughters of American Revolution sign that's very similar, and evidently the process a little bit easier than what it was for the Ohio History Convention. But I'm hopeful we'll get that grant. It required a lot of research, not by me necessarily, but I had to sort of assemble it, put it into the format. So a lot of that was done by Beth Myers. And quite frankly, she did a great job on that, and another gentleman by the name of Tom Bradford. So if it is approved, what I understand, the Ohio History Connection will take what we submitted and they'll sort of fine tune the language. And we're not going to know that right now. I did get confirmation from them that everything was filed on time and correctly, which I'm glad to hear because it was done late at night. So anyhow, for those who don't realize it, not every village, not every township is a part of the America Ohio 250. We are a recognized village of that, and we are a historical village. We plan on accentuating those types of things for the in 2026. There are months that are designated each month that we're supposed to be doing. The only one that I know for sure we're probably going to be doing is a homecoming event in July 2026 to celebrate our country's 250th birthday. Do we have details on that yet? Not yet. Okay, we are working on that. There are different people contacting different historical actors and that to try to create a very nice homecoming event here in the village of Cleves. Mary, I don't have the date with me. Do you have the date that we set for that? I think it's like early weekend.
Yeah, like 16, 17,
What is it?
July,
July,
Yeah.
2026.
Yeah, 2026.
17, 18, and 19. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
So Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Like, yeah. 16,
And so
17,
once
18,
again, if
okay.
there's residents that want to join us, they're welcome to do that. The second thing I wanted to address, as far as in my mayor's report, deals with our police department. Okay, that we were talking about earlier. There have been questions, why has it taken so long? And council members know that we've been talking about this for quite a while. We approved, I don't remember what month it was, but we approved that Justin would be our basically our town marshal. It's not much money that we're paying in extra for that. The entire cost, our projected cost is about $60,000 a year. So it's a very, very small footprint. But we've had people say, well, what's taking so long? Okay, so I asked Justin to pull some things together, and I'm gonna just highlight a few of them. First of all, you gotta involve the Ohio Attorney General. When the council did away with our police department in 2020, it's a lot easier just to dismantle something than to build it back. And so it's taken some time. He has been required to take 24 hours of continuing education to reinstate the agency memberships necessary for officer training and roster management. So he's going to be at a mandated chief of police training from October 6th through October 10th in Columbus, and he'll be gone that entire week. Additionally, he has regained access to the Ohio Law Enforcement Gateway. That is a statewide system requiring all law enforcement agencies for managing officer appointments and training compliance. He's also actively working to secure a report management system so officers will have a proper platform to write reports and maintain records in full compliance with the state and federal legal standards. A major problem, okay, has been restoring access to the criminal justice system, including RCIC, which is a regional crime information center, and leads law enforcement automated database system. These tools have to be in place for ordinance enforcement and operating a mayor's court. So you don't just start up a mayor's court. You gotta have all these other things in place. All those things would dismantle. We used to have an RCIC terminal right here, I think probably a leads terminal too. Those were all taken away when the police force disbanded. The tools are essential it requires multiple steps and dependencies, and he has completed those. They're now working with the IT provider to build a required secure network infrastructure and complete system specific training. The next phase will be involving the Hamilton County Communication Center and purchasing law enforcement radios. And he's already obtained a quote and will present an ordinance for approval here in our council meeting in June. On the staffing side, he has conducted interviews and background checks for a police investigator. Chris, okay, you were part of that. And he's already accepted our offer. And a key piece of this effort is the Board of Zoning Appeals, which I'd like to talk about just for a second. Because the Board of Zoning Appeals next month, you're going to have another ordinance addressing some of the things that we need to put in place. We have some things in place in the village, but there's going to be hearings that are going to be taking place and deal with grass cutting length and stuff like that. So we're going to have to put an ordinance in place, and our attorney is working on that currently. I think we spoke around about that today, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So I just want our public to understand, we want to get it going as fast as we can get it going, but you got to do it right. And that is one thing that I think Mr. Havey has made sure we're doing. And it is one of the reasons why I ran for office, because I feel that there were things not being done correctly in the village. And I think we have found out that some of those assumptions were correct. We haven't dwelled on them. We don't feel like we have to dwell on them. We're just going to correct them. We're going to put the right system in place. The entire process will continue to roll out phases over the summer and throughout the year. It is a complex process. And I think Justin will tell you, because he and I have many, many conversations. I'm getting impatient. And I've been pushing him in the direction of getting this stuff up and rolling. And the BZA has been very active. And while I'm talking about BZA, we had a vacancy. And I have a recommendation to you tonight for our final member of that. And some of you may know him. His name is Jason Foley. He went from Coleman Woods. And Jason Foley also worked on the Christmas Walk Committee.
We thrive.
I'm sorry?
We thrive.
Yep, we thrive. So he is active in our village. And I'm asking for a motion tonight because he couldn't be here tonight. He had a work commitment tonight. He's changed jobs recently. But I'm asking you to approve my appointment to the BZA of Jason Foley, so that when we meet on the 29th, I can swear him in and he can be part of that process.
So moved.
Questions?
So moved.
Motion to approve Jason Foley as member of BZA. It's by Mr. Babel. Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Angeline. Any further questions or discussion? Would you call the roll, Bill?
Miss Angeline,
Yes.
Ms. Meyer,
Yes.
Ms. Meister,
Yes.
Mr. Babel,
Yay.
Ms. Bolton.
Yay.
And the last thing I want to talk about is the model zoning, which our BCA members have been attending graciously. They have been graciously attending those meetings. That is where Hamilton County is helping us work through different types of zoning avenues that we currently don't have. They're taking a look at our old code. They're evaluating it. They're taking a look at the language. They're going to propose at some point here, just like they did in North Bend. And North Bend just adopted. This will be our zoning, okay? But they're going to be addressing things like electric vehicles. It could be on the streetscaping. There could be things that are going to be part of our zoning because those things are new from when our zoning was put in. And at some point, there's going to be a final product which will be given to our council members to review and discuss, just like they did in North Bend, and they did not pass it the first time. Okay, there were questions and concerns, and so I don't want you to think anything's gonna be slipped under, because it's not. Everything will be open and upfront. And you'll have plenty of opportunity to see that product and debate that product in our meeting.
Our original zoning ordinance was in 1960s, was it not?
68, I believe.
And we've added to it, I believe, but the premise of it is what, 60 plus years old.
Yeah.
So I think it's time that we address issues that were not issues 60 years ago, so.
And that's exactly what they're doing. And, Mr. Walters, who was a former council member, he has resigned. He worked hard to get this process going. He called it a gap analysis, and that's really what it is. We're taking a look at what things should be in place, what do other villages have, and they're making sure it's aligned with the Ohio Revised Code. And I don't think I've listened to this. So if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer any questions. If you have no questions, we're going to move on to the agenda.
Are we going to vote to?
Oh, we didn't vote on Jason yet?
No.
Yeah, we did.
Motion in a second.
Oh,
We voted.
very seconded. I thought.
We voted.
Did we vote?
Uh-huh.
Well, then I'll have that.
It was voted. Yeah,
Okay.
it was voted on.
I could assume. All right, so we're going to move on.
I'm getting you back, Jeff.
I didn't, I see that. Yeah, but I have the picture to close the things with. So just like that. Linda, you want to talk about the finance committee?
Yeah. Our finance meeting, our fiscal officer gave a report where she mentioned several issues, but the one of importance to us is the 22-23 state audit. And some of their recommendations for us were to form the formation of a records commission, get together a UAN recovery plan, and a bank statement sign off, make sure the bank statement's being looked at by more than one person. But for the most part, there were no major citations of any kind. Is that correct?
I don't know. There's major say. I don't think there were.
I don't believe so. She reported. Yeah,
The waterworks portion is, still under review.
okay.
On the village side, there's recommendations for updated best practices. You've outlined, but there's no sanctions or violations.
That's what I thought. The mayor touched on, the need for a new levy to be considered to present to the voters. He mentioned future economic growth and asked the village administrator to report on his future plans for economic growth, which Justin then did in his village administrator report. We talked a little bit about it tonight with the revitalization. Also the potential of a DORA, as well as potential of some tips to be established that would help us fix some of our streets. He shared that he wanted council to consider the possibility of a form mill levy, a safety services levy, which would be dedicated to the police and fire contracts, which have increased over the years since the levies that are currently on the books were adopted. Council still has to go through that. I believe we have plans at the next finance meeting. We really want input from the public as well. But the deadline to put this on the ballot would be August 2nd. So, council's actively going to be looking at this issue and making some decisions about that. Nothing has been decided yet. A couple of us feel that we need to think about a possible street levy, but this is something council's just going to have to sit down and decide. And that's it for finance.
I confirmed with the Board of Elections this week. The deadline is August 6th at 4 p.m.
Okay, August 6th.
Any questions from council members? The public?
So why is this levy important, but the last one wasn't?
What was the question?
No, the last one, what do you mean? It was put on the ballot, it was a 7 mil put on the ballot, it just got voted down.
Right, so we didn't need a levy last time, and it wasn't important because council didn't deserve it. I believe that was a direct quote from the mayor. Council didn't deserve a levy, but now it's important to.
No, I think
take into
the
account.
current council, which I don't know that any of us,
We did.
3 of them are brand new.
Didn't need a levy before. Voters did not agree and did not pass the levy.
So you think it's
We
gonna
have
pass?
to make a cutback.
Well,
so
we're hoping that we
everything
can
that we
justify it.
can to save, and we're trying to improve and show the residents that we are making progress.
And this would be a safety services levy versus a general fund levy. So the money would be dedicated solely to the police and fire and any other safety related issue here in the village. Our contracts, the current levies that we have are continuing levies. One is a 2.0 and one is a, 1.5 or is it
We have a 1.5 and 2.5
2.5?
continuing.
Okay. And those were enacted quite a few years ago, and our contracts for police and fire have gone out. So we've been supplementing those contracts out of the general fund. So a safety services levy will allow us to pay those contracts and to save the money out of our general fund. That's what we're going to be discussing. That's what we're gonna be talking about, so.
Street levy, you were talking about how
Well-
it would benefit.
The street levy would benefit us on potentially getting state issue 2 grants. But there is some debate on whether you want to go to the voters for it's a small 1 mil street and maybe a 3 mil safety. We have to discuss this as a group. There's some discussion about whether or not that's prudent to go to the voters for 2 separate levies. All of that is going to be decided, and that's what we'd like to get input from the public from. What's important to you? What services do you want to support? Because that's what it's all about. So those things will be discussed amongst council, and like I said, all finance meetings are open to the public, always, and we welcome any input.
I should my administrator's report, but I did get an update from Hamilton County Municipal Road Fund for 2024. We were awarded $87,500 for our lower road project. There's no matching funds required. We don't have matching funds to offer. We're going to work, I think the total project there was $170,000. So we're going to work with the contractor and see what type of repairs they can make to that with the $87,000 we awarded.
There is a benefit to the community if your community buys in and supports a street levy, no matter what the amount. You get extra points when you apply for the grant because the state feels that your residents have supported and committed to helping to support their streets. It gives you extra credit when you apply for grants. We had a street levy on the books many, many years ago when I was clerk. And to give people tax relief, we let it go off. I think it might have been a 2 mil. I don't remember. It's been a while. But we did let it fall off the books because at the time, we were getting a lot of pressure about our taxes being too high. We let a park levy go off as well. We had a park levy, we had a street levy. This is debatable. We're just gonna have to discuss it and try to determine what makes the most sense for us and what we believe our residents will support.
Jerry, you wanna go through the public safety?
Sure. Safety committee met on May the 1st. Because it was the very first day of the month, there were no, monthly cabinet data was not available from the sheriff's department. Captain Joe Diego was in attendance at the meeting from Miami Township Fire Department. And we discussed the meeting attendance, given the restriction, that is in our new contract of them attending 1 meeting per quarter. So moving forward, the Miami Township representative will attend a quarterly council meeting rather than the safety committee meetings. They will continue to provide the safety committee with their monthly reports on numbers and stats and anything going on within the department. He also reported that the new engine 69 went into service that day on May 1st. They have started their spring hydrant checks and they'll be working with Waterworks on any problems that they find to get those fixed. He reported that their business safety inspections are underway. I had inquired about apartment buildings, multifamily buildings. He said that they do inspect those, but they are only able to inspect the common areas. And he also reported the Miami Township Fire is now an American Heart Association training site for CPR. And then our village administrator was not in attendance, but he provided me with a report prior to the meeting. And we discussed some of those things. Last month's speed data reports from our speed signs on North and South Miami did show an increase in speeding, particularly between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. So that information was shared with Sergeant Carney, and his deputies have been asked to conduct targeted speed enforcement during those peak hours as availability permits. Our village administrator and Sergeant Carney are working collaboratively to address a few nuisance properties. Village administrator will be submitting formal letters of appreciation to Hammond County Chief Deputy to recognize Sergeant Carney, Sergeant Schmieg, and Deputy Singleton for their professionalism in response to a situation at a local business that occurred the last week of April. In regards to our emergency notification system, all steps on our end have been completed. We're just waiting for Hamilton County to get things done. The Hamilton County, the final Hamilton County 911 plan we've already talked about. And we mentioned that the village is preparing to hold our first Board of Zoning Appeals hearing in late May. There was no old business, no new business. The next safety committee meeting will be held on Thursday, June the 5th at 7 p.m. Questions?
The look on your face, Jerry. Any questions? Hearing somebody to have a question.
If I could just give it up, when we talked about there was a request from a resident for the speed bump up on Colberry Court.
Yes.
I want you to know that John has completed putting up warning signs as far as children playing.
Okay.
There was some service, so that's just an addition.
Okay.
Any other questions? Linda, you did the parks meeting for Kevin. Now you want to talk at all?
Well, what we have are the notes from his meeting. We had the meeting earlier this month. So I've got the notes from the last park meeting that he ran, which is the one we would be reporting on. What we talked about the other day, I haven't done this. Because it was just last night, no? Yeah, when was it, last night?
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, so the minutes are from the park meeting on April 21st. The BMX representative was there. They talked about finding or incorporating an existing lease. I did sort of remember having a lease with them many years ago, but had no idea where it would be located now. So they're looking to just go ahead and supersede any original lease with a new one for the BMX track. They also would like us to consider allowing camping on the weekends when they have their big state meets, which is what, maybe 2 a year?
2 or 3 a year.
And we used to do that. I remember that as well. They bring the campers in. They always were respectful. They were giving them a lot of area in the park, and we never had any problems when we did allow them in. So I think they're working with the village administrator on potentially allowing camping when they have their big state meets. The park cleanup, we've already gotten a full report from John on that. Skate park, the park committee is looking at potential renovations and overall rehaul of that park next door, getting rid of the equipment and maybe putting something else in that place. ideas are being thrown around, nothing's been resolved, and if and when they do, I'm sure it'll be the whole council's input on that. Right now, there is a community, is it Bell Fountain? Who is interested in coming up and removing it and taking it up, possibly using it in their area. So it would be used in a park for children, and, so we'll see if that, they're
I
working.
spoke to Bell Fountain today, and, they are gonna come down, that they're absolutely interested. And, they asked me to give them a video of, in other words, walk around the park, get a video of all the equipment. And they're gonna schedule, they're very busy the next 2 weeks, so right after that, they're gonna come down, they're gonna look at it, evaluate it. Their intention is to take it.
And there's no rush.
And to disassemble, well, I know that, disassemble it, and charge the village. So that is their intent.
It really isn't being used as a skate park anymore. And 10 years ago, when I left, they were using it with their bikes. And there's really not enough room on the top of those ramps to take the bikes up. They were flipping, like Susie Chapstick does on a ski course at the bottom. They were just doing all kinds of shenanigans to get their bikes up on the top of that ramp. It just was kind of scary to me. So I think it's good. I think it served its purpose when the kids were using it at first, but they aren't using it anymore. So the equipment, it's better for us to let a community that is still using go ahead and make use of that. The summer market was also discussed at the meeting in April, in which the potential plans, which we talked about earlier, were talked about as well, and the America 250 celebration, we talked a little bit about that. Maybe potential future plans to include showing some Halloween themed movies up at the gazebo area. And potential Christmas walk planning meetings will begin in May. Well, we had our meeting in May, and I recruited some people, unbeknownst to them, to be part of our Christmas walk committee. They're here tonight. Don, Sylvia, they found out they were volunteered. So we, Kevin has done an absolutely phenomenal job over the last couple of years by himself. And, for people who've been around a while, there used to be a committee outside the village that planned this Christmas walk. There was at least a dozen people on that committee that devoted all their time to planning our Christmas walk. And that committee was disbanded probably 10, 12, 13 years ago. And Kevin has been instrumental in attempting to bring it back. And last year's Christmas walk was really phenomenal. I think our parade was phenomenal, with all the vehicles, lights blinking, our blink parade. How many vehicles did we have in that parade? 50-ish?
There's about 40-ish.
40-ish?
Yeah.
Expectations
There
of which one?
There was a runky truck with lights all over the place. So I think he is to be commended, but it's potentially not going to be possible for him to put the work in that's going to be necessary. And
I think the good thing is that we still have a lot of the stuff from last year pretty much in place.
right,
So there's a lot of stuff that Kevin did behind the scenes that we may need his input on.
right,
But like the parade stuff, I still have all that information.
Yeah.
And I think Brossards and Mary Lee's and stuff, that they've done it for years. So I think all we need to do is, hey, we need your help. What have you done the last couple of years? Can you do it again this year? Same with the library and senior center.
I will work with Kevin to make sure that, I guess it's going to fall on me this year to do what I can, and I will. I was instrumental in all the years I was here. I did the parade and I did Santa's workshop, whatever we did here at the building. I was part of the committee. So we're going to move forward with that, and we're going to start to have finance meetings first and then Christmas walk meeting right after. So we're gonna start meeting monthly and maybe a couple extra meetings toward the end of the year.
So what day is your planning?
It's the fourth Wednesday of the month. And Chuck, I talked to you because, well, not finance, park. We're doing park. It's the
Christmas.
third Monday of the
Monday.
month, I think.
Yes, third
Yes.
Monday of the month at 5:15.
5:15.
You're gonna wanna do the,
Yeah, but what you were talking about it maybe being an absence, separate meetings, the park may not go more than an hour. Would it make more sense to do 5:30 to 6:30? And then the Christmas walk, 6:30 to,
yeah, that's what you were talking about the other day.
yeah, we did 5:15 because,
I think it depends on when you can get here too.
right, because I work from home on Monday, so I said I could get here, he wanted 5 o'clock, I think.
Okay.
But I think you could do a 5:30 to 6:30 parks and a 6:30 to 7:30 Christmas walk. So
Okay.
anybody only helping with the Christmas walk doesn't have to sit through a park meeting.
Will you text us? Yeah.
I sure will, ladies.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to work that too. I'm willing to help.
That would be great, get information out and, maybe talk to the village on one next one. With the Christmas.
Yes, we'll get something on the website.
Yeah.
So when you say the third Monday,
Third Monday at 5:30 will be the park meeting,
And then
6:30
will
Christmas
be the.
walk.
From all Mondays then.
Mondays, third Monday of every month. More meetings when we get closer to the Texas. And I think it's December.
Okay.
You said six? Yeah.
Okay. I think that pretty well wraps it. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
Motion made by Mr. Vega. Do I have a second?
we'll have a second.
Second by Ms. Meyer. Any further discussion? Terry, call the roll.
Miss Angeline? She said, yeah. Miss Meyer?
Calling the roll, guys.
Miss Meyer? Miss Meister?
Still closed.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Miss Meister?
Hey, Jason.
Mr. Babel?
Yay.
Miss Bull?
We are.
Oh, good.
Two of my favorites.